We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Mark. Mark's been looking at AV receivers and noticing that even the flagship models from the normal consumer brands top out at processing 11 channels. So clearly 7.2.4 works, but what about really large home theaters where 13 or more speakers could genuinely be useful? Is it possible for an average consumer to purchase and install something like 11.4.8 setup? Or do you have to use some sort of super expensive commercial grade product? Well, there's the Trinov one, right?
The Trinov, yeah.
That one's not, I mean, it's 20 grand? Is that what it is?
No, it starts at 30 grand, and that's the 16 channel model. So that'll only get you to 9.1.6.
Right.
If you want to do 11.4.8, like in this example, you've got to step up at least one model, which is getting you to $40,000. To get the full 32-channel version is $50,000. I would count that as a super expensive product.
I would, too, but, you know, this guy's saying, how could average consumer purchase and install something like 11.4.8 setup? Dude,
you can't.
There is no average consumer that needs 11.4.8. That's not, those are categorically non-compatible. You do not have a room if you are an average consumer that's 11.4.8. It doesn't happen. Now, there are ways of having extra speakers if you do have a large room that still fits with the normal receiver brand, and you know, having multiple if you have multiple rows of seats and you want to have multiple side surround speakers, there's no reason you couldn't do that.
Right, but those will all be one channel. So
it'll be one channel.
All of those speakers will be playing the same sound.
Which is the same thing that happens in movie theaters anyway, so what's a big deal? You know, what's a big
largely.
deal?
But in a Dolby Atmos theater, that, you know, each one can be individually addressed.
That's true.
So that is a difference.
That's true. There is a difference there. So, I mean, there are ways of getting multiple speakers up into a normal average room without having to use the Trinovs. So he says, tying into this, Nathan noticed Emotiva's announcement they'll be showing their $5,000 RMC1 processor at CEDIA. The RMC1 is supposed to have 16 outputs, but they've indicated that it's 7.3.6 configuration rather than 9.1.6. They also announced that at the demo at CEDIA will be a 7.4.4 speaker layout because Dolby is still working on the software to allow more than 4 overhead channels. So, okay. So is that a question? That's just a statement, right?
Yeah, well, that was some news that came out because people have been waiting, of course, being Emotiva, waiting for this RMC1 processor. They've been promising that it's going to have 16 outputs for a long time. You know, they got this image where it's showing Atmos as a 7.1.6 configuration. There is an RCAM processor out there right now that does 7.3.6. Exactly like what Emotiva is talking about doing, but that's more expensive than $5,000. So that's where the RMC1, if and when it ever actually does come out this way, could have the price advantage. However, there was that talk from Den and AVRant at their European launch event that they're working on new flagship models to replace the X7200 and the AV8802A. Those ones, I don't know how much they're going to cost, but they were saying they're going for 14 channels. So it's going to be like a 7.1.6 or something like that. Yeah, 7.1.6.
I got to be honest, I'm getting really concerned about the number of channels we're having.
That's a lot of speakers. It's a lot of wire, a lot of amplifiers.
It's the amplifiers where I think it's...
Well,
they're getting this
too.
Well, the amplifier is what's worrying me, because I think we're getting to the point where we're putting so many. They are putting or planning on putting so many amps in these things that how are they going to have enough power? How are they going to have enough the ability to power all these speakers at the same time?
Well, if it's a pre-pro, at least you know it's all external. So
well, and I think that's what the direction we'll end up having to go. And suddenly we'll be not back, but we'll be into a situation where like pre-pros now make sense. You know, for so many years now have been like, you know, just use a receiver for a pre-pro. Why just ignore the amps? I just think now that it's at some point somebody's got to say, listen, we're not putting any more amps in these things.
Yeah, right. 11
we'll process a lot of speakers, as many speakers as you want, but we are done putting amps in these things because they're just it's going to end up being too little power and too high of noise floor, and it's just the thing's going to be a big electromagnetic conductor by the end of it. It's just going to put out interference like crazy.
Somebody's got to get to 24.4.10 though, because that's the maximum. That's what Atmos at home tops out at. So Trinov is going to get there, but
Trinov will get there for sure.
Yeah.
But they're not putting any amps in anything. So. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.